Hello, friends, enemies, and lovers alike. Today, I would like to talk about why I make really weird music that no one really listens to. And I also want to use this video as like an introduction to me and like sort of like who I am, I guess, but not really. So should I just start at the beginning of my music journey? Oh my god. I was a very strange girl, a very strange child with a really overactive imagination. And I was always drawn to, for lack of a better word, the illusory realm. Like, I always believed in magic. I had my own way of communicating with the world that was speechless. This is already sounding so weird, I'm sorry. So I had this way of seeing things and communicating to things beyond the seen world, but I never had a way of expressing that. And for a really long time, it was really painful for me to not have a way to express the things that I saw beyond the veil of reality. So it took me a really long time to even know that like art was a thing that you could use to express these things. Like, I knew this, but I didn't know that that was accessible to me. I wrote a short story when I was in elementary school, and that was pretty much it. Like, I didn't really know that expressing myself was something that was available to me. I just thought that it was only for the chosen few, the few that are born already talented artists. And I did not feel like I was that at all. I couldn't really draw or paint, and I didn't grow up in a very musical family, so I didn't know that instruments were something that you can learn how to play and develop your skill in. So I kind of just floundered in this state of like feeling just so much and having so much to say, but being completely like blocked off from doing that, and feeling just really embarrassed about my entire existence. And I just kind of curled into myself, and I just thought I was really weird. Everyone told me I wasn't normal, and I just kind of kept to myself. When I got to high school, however, I discovered that art was a thing that anyone could do and that I could do. And this was a really big game changer for me. I started writing, I started painting, I started taking photos with film photography. This was also the time when Tumblr became just a big phenomenon. So like this just kind of added fuel to the fire. Around this time too, I started discovering all my favorite bands, and I felt like the world was my oyster because I had access to certain methods of downloading music onto a portable device that allowed me to just dive deep into every single genre. And I was primarily drawn to ambient and electronic music, but what started my whole music obsession was Radiohead. And they led me into a rabbit hole of Aphex Twin, Boards of Canada, Portishead, PJ Harvey. It was just like, I felt like I was just coming alive with all this music that I was discovering too. This was also the time that I discovered a certain herbal thing that allowed me to expand my mind even more. So this time of creative expansion and curiosity is still like the fondest time I can think of, because I also met like-minded people that were expressive and curious and artsy and inquisitive. So this was just like really formative time for me. And yeah, it was beautiful, but I still didn't make music at this time. I didn't know like that you could just start playing an instrument. So it took me a really long time to get there. It wasn't until I was 18 or 19 and I met someone who was also a musician, and they were also my partner. So I just kind of started playing with his gear, honestly. He had really nice stuff. He had a Jazzmaster, he had a bunch of pedals. And I was like, what is all this stuff? I want to play with it. And I got my first synth. So my first forays into music were just totally abstract. I had no idea what a chord even was. I didn't know what the black keys on a keyboard were. I didn't know what the white keys were. I didn't know I didn't know anything. I just saw music as like the sounds that I made. So like the sounds that I made were the sounds that I heard, and that's kind of how I expressed myself. And this led me to a form of expression that was very textural and based on texture. So these early forays into music looked like me sitting on the floor with a synthesizer. It was a Yamaha CS1X because it is rumored that Boards of Canada had that, and I just started with that. I also had a Boss Space Echo pedal, a looper, and some kind of vocal processing stuff that I played through a mixer, and I just kind of vocalized over ambient pads, and like I had a blast. Honestly, it was so meditative and spiritual, and it felt like I had finally found like the missing piece in terms of like expressing myself, like expressing this thing that I had seen, that I had felt for a really long time. This illusory, formless, waving thing. And I can't express it in words because I'm only able to express it through sound, this thing. And it was so exciting. And at this time I also got really into Grouper and Tim Hecker, and I had some very interesting, meditative, expansive journeys while listening to Tim Hecker. I'll leave it at that. This was like another period of expansion for me. The only thing though was that I felt really insecure still about my music. I felt like since I didn't really have any technical skill, I wasn't really qualified to do anything with it or release any of it. I eventually did as my first like album. It was kind of a collection of all the ethereal sounds I had made, and oddly enough some people like randomly responded to it, which was weird because I really just posted my music on SoundCloud and Bandcamp, and I didn't really tell anyone besides my partner about it. But I kept this going, and I wanted to get deeper into the guitar, so I signed up for a classical guitar class at a community college. It was like $300 to sign up, and then I bought a used nylon string guitar off of eBay that had a custom decal on it. It was just very like, it all just happened at the same time. It was very kismet. And that's where I learned what a chord was and how to like finger pick. So I haven't really, I hadn't, yeah, I hadn't really learned how to properly play the guitar at all. I was just kind of plunking about in open tunings and it was pretty bad, but this kind of gave it a little bit more shape. And I also started songwriting. I mean, I kind of immediately started songwriting as soon as I picked up the guitar, but I didn't really, since I didn't know what chords were, it was just kind of like me putting words over sounds. And that was interesting, but once I learned what chords were, it allowed me to, sorry, it's a weird time of day and my light kept changing and I'm seeing if this is any better, but I left off at chords. Okay, so I learned chords, I started writing songs, and this process just continued for years. I mean, there's a lot that happened in between. Like I released, I guess, my debut album, I released another album, and then after that, I kind of just went back into hiding. And the reason for that is because I started overthinking my process again, and I felt wholly inadequate again. And what happened during this time, it was like between the pandemic and now, is that I went into a deep process of learning music theory and music production because I felt like my songs were still lacking. So I went pretty hard on Ableton. I went pretty hard on like trying to sound better when I sang. I still struggle to hit notes, but I started to actually learn how to match the notes when I sing because I really had no idea what I was doing at all. All of this led to me recording a lot of music, a lot of it that is beyond what I ever thought I could do, but I still feel so insecure when I release it. I don't know why. I think it's like I just have a really deep insecurity about my skill because I think I still internalize that message I got early on that you need to have some kind of innate talent musically in order to be a musician, or that you just need to have training from a really young age in order to be a musician. And since I kind of just got into it very intuitively and just by just honestly just making sounds that I like, I don't know, it's really hard to explain the way I see music. I kind of just, I don't really think of it in terms of notes. I kind of think about it in terms of like the texture and the story that texture is saying to me. Like I feel like if I put a certain amount of reverb or I find a certain sound when I'm just messing with like tape loops, I feel like something about that speaks to me and haunts me in a certain way that draws me to it and asks me to investigate it further. And it's not really about like, oh, like, so what's the chord progression of this? Or like, you know, like it really doesn't have anything to do with what I've been taught about how music is supposed to be. So I just kind of feel like I'm still this weird girl making sounds with her synth on the floor that are vaguely inspired by Tim Hecker and Grouper. But yeah, I think this insecurity has still followed me though. And even though I feel a lot of imposter syndrome about my music, I still feel really compelled to keep making it, and I'm not really sure why. And I thought I'd make this video to articulate why, and I realized I didn't really figure that out. But I think it just goes back to those early experiences I had of just wanting to see something beyond like our physical existence. And something is very fascinating about how sound plays into that for me, because sound is a wave that travels across time. So it's kind of like a chronology of time passing. It's a texture across time. It's a painting of time. And something about that really resonates with me. Even the word resonate, like when something has a unique resonance, it pulls you to it. And I think that is what I'm looking for when I make sounds, is a resonance that pulls me to them. And I also feel very interested in romanticism in the classical sense of the word. Something about this process feels very impressionistic and romantic, because I'm really just going by a pull towards something else. And I don't think that pull is ever going to escape me. So I think I'm just gonna keep making weird sounds that nobody listens to. And if anyone does, I feel extremely grateful that anyone has such a open mind to listen to something that hasn't been fed to them by algorithms and is pretty beyond the norm of what music usually is. So I'm really grateful that I decided, or I didn't really decide, I guess, but I'm really grateful that this specific person came into my life and showed me that I could just start doing this thing. And it just kind of spiraled from there. Like now I just have so much gear. I've played a bunch of shows. I've made so many friends just from being like in the experimental music scene in the city where I live. So like I wouldn't take any of it back, even though sometimes I'm like, oh, I feel like I wasted time just attempting to be an artist, and I feel like I failed. And I don't regret any of it, honestly. Like I feel like the seed inside of me was always going to explode into something. And if I didn't listen to that, I think it would have hurt me a lot. So I'm really glad I listened to that feeling. And if you're watching this, I really implore you to listen to whatever seed you feel like is inside of you, whatever, like, I think we all carry, this is so cheesy, but I feel like we all carry a candle inside of us, and it's up to us to keep that ember ablaze. So if you're watching this, like I want you to listen to whatever that ember inside of you wants to, for it to feed into that fire. So yeah, I hope you really find the thing that sets your heart ablaze. God, that is so cheesy, but yeah, I really do. And I hope you follow it. I hope you follow that curiosity, because I don't think you'll regret it. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I had something else to say. No, I don't think I had anything else to say. I guess this is my story is still continuing, and I hope it continues. It continues to continue. And yeah, I hope you're having a blessed day wherever you might be. I'm not religious, but I send blessings your way. Okay.